Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Did you spend all of 2025 being fat, sick, or depressed, or all three? Are you fed up with all of the doctors and specialists and shaman who promise you solutions but offer you nothing but a basket full of pills to take away a few symptoms, if it even works at all, but never cures anything? Are you tired of all the weight loss gimmicks, of all the promises, and the best new thing that's going to solve it all, only to lead to disappointment or more sickness or more weight gain? Well, have you tried the carnivore diet? Are you ready to try the carnivore diet? Open your mind and listen to what I have to say, because I did it and it fixed all of my medical conditions and I lost 100 pounds. It worked great. This doesn't cost you a thing. It is not a shake. It is not a pill. It is not a supplement. And it's not a program. It is simple human biology. So why don't we get back to basics and discuss how to carnivore in 2026 right here on the Carnivore Science Channel. So what is the carnivore diet? Well, it's pretty simple. It's animals and animal products. So that means, cows, chickens, pigs, eggs, that sort of thing. And dairy products, depending on what type of carnivore you're doing. I have been a carnivore for 3 years. In November of 2022, I ended up in the emergency room and I had to reevaluate my life. I used to be 100 pounds heavier than I am now. And while a ketogenic diet helped, it was not the solution. I gained most of the weight back. The only thing that worked for me was the carnivore diet. And I wasn't just 100 pounds overweight, I was very sick. So after the medical industrial complex could offer me no solutions, as usual, because they couldn't cure any of my medical conditions. None of them. I had all of these. And all they could offer me was all of these medicines. None of which worked. Most of the medicines made me sicker than I was before, and nothing was cured. I was on a narcotic for 17 years of my life. That's the definition of insanity. Just to keep doing the same thing and keep going back to the same places for the same bad advice. Well, my emergency room visit changed all that. I didn't understand at the time how simple reversing all of this would be. And when I did it, I could hardly believe it. I remember vividly the feeling of 3 days on carnivore, wondering if I was dreaming. There's no way all of the problems that I was suffering from could go away that fast. Some of them were completely gone in a month. A lot of them were gone in 3 days. It was surreal, to say the least. I could not believe it was that simple. How could it be that simple? How could I've never heard this before? I've learned a lot over the past 3 years, and I would like to share that with you now so that you can make your 2026 way better than 2025. And while the carnivore diet is simple across the board, there are different approaches that you might need to take depending on why you're doing this. If you're doing it just to lose weight and you have no medical conditions or issues, your approach might be different than someone who actually is doing it because they're suffering and they're in pain, and they have been for years, or for autoimmunity conditions. It may be both. You may be suffering from medical conditions and are overweight. This is common in a lot of people especially in the United States. The second thing you have to prepare for is that you are about to go through a major transition. The transition will be different depending on what diet you're doing before you go carnivore. I will start with the most disruptive transition, and that is from standard American diet, which we call the SAD diet, of highly processed foods, regular garbage that everybody eats, McDonald's, and packaged things from the store. If you actually eat frozen meals and soups and ravioli in a can and things like that, if you're eating stuff like that, you're on the standard American diet. The standard American diet doesn't look the same from one person to the next. But what it has in common for everybody is that you're eating highly processed, hyperpalatable foods that are doing a lot of damage to your body. Now, the mechanics behind that is that we are actually eating way more carbohydrates, and a lot of this is artificial. We're basically eating starvation food. All of these carbohydrates, these hundreds of grams of carbohydrates, first of all, even if they're clean carbohydrates, overwhelm our body's ability to continue to maintain insulin and glucose levels. I'm not going to go into tons of detail on biochemistry in this video, but I want to give you the basics. One thing to keep in mind, and this is a fact, is that your body does not need external carbs. Now, this is different from what you've been taught, but it is a biological fact. We have to have protein and we have to have fat. We do not have to have external carbohydrates. The reason for that? Our body makes glucose on its own through gluconeogenesis. The reason everybody is so fat and sick, not just in the United States, but all over the world, is because the modern food supply does a lot of things to your body. There's a couple of points I want to go over. One is obviously the chemicals and the preservatives and the garbage and what is known as hyperpalatable foods. Foods that are highly refined and highly processed, like sugar. Refined sugar is very, very addictive, number one. And it also causes you to become diabetic if you consume the crap out of it all the time. Our bodies cannot handle this type of food. Refined flour is another one that's a hyperpalatable food. These are like starvation foods, foods that if you were in a famine and you were starving to death and you had stockpiles of flour and you wanted to not die, yeah, that would be a time for a hyperpalatable type of storable food, not on a daily basis. So, if you're eating anything like that and you are on the standard American diet, you are going to have to transition slowly into carnivore. It is not a good idea for you to just all of a sudden stop your diet and move into meat and water. You will feel bad, most likely, because your body has to go through a transition. Now, part of why this transition is difficult has to do with the fact that you're addicted to sugar and refined carbs. And then the other part of it is that your body does not know how to burn fat for fuel. It has to learn. So that is another part of transition that can be difficult, but well worth it, trust me. When you start to burn fat for fuel, you will realize a clarity and energy that you have never experienced before. I run on ketones. I always have ketones in my bloodstream. When I test for them, it varies anywhere from 1 to 5. So I do not like being out of ketosis. Now that's me. Now some carnivores may go in and out some of the time. It depends on what you're eating, how much, that sort of thing. But your body has to learn how to do that because it doesn't know how if you're on the standard American diet. There is a transition period for this. So you have to prepare for transition, and it depends on what you're eating. If you were eating a ketogenic diet and you kept your carbs to like 20, 30, even 50 a day, the transition is much easier. So my recommendation is that first, get rid of anything processed. Now, how do you know what's processed and what's not? Well, if it grows out of the ground or you had to kill it to eat it, that's not processed in what I'm discussing here. Now, when you read a package and it has a list of things that you feel like you're going to have to go get a chemistry degree to actually understand, yeah, that's processed. Don't eat anything but whole foods. So if you're starting to transition from standard American diet and you want to go keto, then you're talking about vegetables that are low in carbohydrates and that have basically fibrous carbohydrates, not like the starchy type. Don't eat like baked potatoes or carrots or things like that. You're looking at leafy greens and a few other items. It's very easy to go online and look for whole fruits and vegetables that are keto. And what you're looking at is you want to keep per day your carbohydrate intake below 20. That's kind of a standard. So we've talked about the different vegetables that you would incorporate on a ketogenic diet when you're trying to transition over to carnivore. I would recommend try to keep the veggies to a minimum and make sure that you're getting plenty of fat in the meat that you pick, because that is very important. Now, you might need to go less fat at first so that you get used to it if you've been avoiding animal fat for a long time, and you can have some really crazy like diarrhea because of the fat content. I will warn you now, if you're not used to eating any fat and you're eating very fatty cuts of meat, all of a sudden that can be jarring. So you might want to ease into that as well, depending on what you're used to. If you're used to eating a lot of animal fat, it probably shouldn't be an issue. So just keep that in mind as you transition over. And the more fatty meat you have and the less vegetables, the easier that your transition over to carnivore is going to be. So once you do keto and you get used to that and your body kind of starts to equilibrate, then you can move to carnivore. So this period of time, let's say you're going to do this and you change from standard American diet to the ketogenic diet. This also is a transition for people. This can be hard for a lot of people. Even though you're not going straight to carnivore, it's still a big change from what you've been doing. One of the things that people usually get when they transition from a standard American diet to a ketogenic diet is the keto flu. Now, these are short-term side effects like headaches, fatigue, brain fog, irritability, nausea, and constipation as your body adapts to burning fat for fuel, usually lasting a few days to a few weeks. Other potential issues include bad breath, dehydration, muscle cramps, reduced athletic performance, and digestive problems like diarrhea. Staying hydrated and increasing electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, helps manage these temporary symptoms. I highly recommend that you have clean electrolytes on hand in order to get through this easier. It makes life much, much easier. Just check the electrolytes to make sure that you're getting electrolytes like magnesium, potassium, all the usual suspects, and not a lot of other junk, okay? Now, if there's a little stevia in there, a lot of times my electrolytes have a little bit of stevia just to make it taste better. And I'm good with that, but it's up to you as to what works for you. So the second problem that you're going to encounter is the sugar withdrawal, especially if you were like me back in the day and you were down in a bunch of candy and cream horns and nutty bars and things like that. You are going to go through some serious sugar withdrawal, and it is no joke. Now, this is where you have to put some effort into this. You have to actually exert some willpower, because during this time you're not going to be feeling good, and that inner demon is going to come up to you and say, why are you going through all this? Why are you trying? What is the point? Nothing's going to work. Now he's going to be whispering in your ear, so you need to resist your inner demon during this point in time. This is where you're at your weakest. Get through it, and I promise you this does work. Now, what I recommend, if you are sick and you've been diagnosed with a lot of autoimmune issues and you're doing this to try to heal yourself, I recommend you go lion diet. Lion diet is ruminant meat and water. Ruminant animals like cows, deer, and sheep can process plant toxins better than non-ruminants due to their multi-chambered stomach and specialized microbes that break down compounds like oxalates and cyanogenic glycosides, making their meat a safer, more nutrient-dense food source for humans following diets like carnivore or animal-based. As they convert fiber and non-protein nitrogen into quality protein and fats, offering superior micronutrients without the plant anti-nutrients found in non-ruminant animals. The less toxins that you encounter, the better, because I am of the camp that plants are trying to kill you. Plants are full of toxins. And if you're trying to get rid of autoimmune diseases or you're trying to get rid of illnesses, a lot of these toxins can be causing your problems. So in order to figure out what you can and can't eat, first of all, you need to eliminate everything. Lion diet is the ultimate elimination diet, where you just eat fatty red meat, and it does need to be fatty. Anything carnivore, you need to have enough fat. It is a higher fat diet than all of the other diets. How high fat for you depends on you, but your body will tell you. Your body tells you when you've had too much fat or you haven't had enough. And your body will tell you when you're satiated as well. That's the beauty of it. When you eat hyperpalatable foods, those foods are designed by chemists just like me to make it so that you cannot stop eating. They bypass your normal responses. Your body can't let you know that you are full and you do not need to eat anymore. This is one of the dangers of processed foods. There are others, like seed oils, which are highly inflammatory and could be causing a lot of your conditions. So you've got to get rid of all of the processed foods and all of the plants. It's difficult for a lot of people to go to Lion Diet, and not for the reason you may think, because once you become fat adapted, you will be full, you will not be hungry all the time, but psychologically, you're going to mourn the foods that you've left behind. Like, I had trouble with reminiscing about cereal. It sounds dumb, but I was raised eating Captain Crunch with a bunch of cold milk on top of it, and there was nothing better in the universe. That feeling of eating that cereal on Saturday morning watching cartoons was one of the best of my childhood. That food, that highly processed food that was slowly killing me, was attached to some of the best emotional experiences of my life. This is going to haunt you at times, but I promise it will get better. So whenever this hits, just try to remember that it will get better. So you have to understand this reaction and you have to prepare yourself for it, because your inner demon is going to go nuts with it. And if you do not prepare to combat this, odds are that you're not going to do that well. This is something super critical, I feel, that a lot of people don't point out on carnivore before they give people advice on how to do it. Then you have the people who are just mainly trying to lose weight, or some people who just don't want to continue eating processed food because they know it's going nowhere, and eventually it will make them sick. So what I recommend to those people is the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs diet, the BBB&E. Now, this diet was actually crafted by Dr. Ken Berry, and he's here on YouTube, and he has an excellent channel and a lot of really great videos. He was one of the people that I went to when I had to learn how to do carnivore, and he helped me a lot. Now, I've given you a lot of preparation and tips and ideas, okay? You're just beef and water or beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. It's that simple. You eat till you're full, and then you stop. Some people will want to eat multiple times a day. Some will eat one a day. There's no wrong or right. Another extremely important tip that you need to keep at the very top of your consciousness as you're doing this is that take this one day at a time. And if you fall into the ditch and you make a mistake or you eat something that's off diet, do not let the demon start talking. Gag him immediately. Subdue him. Don't let him start. You take over and you tell yourself, I'm going to do better tomorrow or tonight or after I'm done taking that bite of cookie or whatever it is I did. I'm not going to do it again because I'm going to try to see this through. Give it a chance. It can work. It did for me. As you do your research into the carnivore diet, and I suggest that you continue to research this diet, as you're doing this research, you're going to see that there are quite a few who still drink coffee and or tea. I am one of those people. I did go off of coffee a while ago, but I ended up right back on it. And that's mainly because I'm very attached to that ritual, so I have not been successful yet. However, my inner demon is gagged and put in the corner in a little box, so he can't gripe at me about it. Because I could really beat myself up on, you're weak and you should be able to do this and da 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 da. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was reversing everything. So I feel like I make decent progress. However, there are a lot of people who do. And I will tell you that if I would have quit coffee in the beginning, I probably would have failed carnivore because it would have been too much at once. I would have been expecting too much of myself, to be honest. And you know how much you can handle. And obviously, I'm not talking about coffee or tea with sugar. I do eat sweeteners here and there, but I have stevia mostly, a very clean version of stevia that doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. So, and there's a lot of videos on sweeteners and good, bad, the ugly, that sort of thing. And a lot of people don't think you should eat sweeteners at all. As far as I go, and I'm sharing my story with you on how I found success, just so you know, and you might want to try some of these things, you might not. What I did is I ended up doing a very clean version of stevia, which is just pure stevia extract, doesn't have a bunch of junk in it. And I have stevia in my coffee, and I use that in the tea as well. And I really want to get rid of sweeteners, and I really want to get rid of coffee and tea. Coffee doesn't have a whole lot of oxalates in it, but it has compounds in it that can be problematic, and I just think it's not a good idea. And then the tea has high oxalates, which can be a problem in the future. And that's another thing, if you want to do some research, another person to really look into is Sally Norton. She does a lot on oxalate dumping. It's something that some carnivores experience. Not because we're doing something wrong, it's because your body responds to the fact that you've been eating lots and lots of oxalates your entire life, and they get stored up, and you start to dump them when you stop eating any oxalates. So it's a response, but it's something to be aware of. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go through it. It's just a potential. Knowledge is power, and being informed of all of this and just keeping it in your mind as you go through this process is really important. Prepare yourself. But if you have a slip up, do not kick yourself. Approach this one day at a time and be forgiving to yourself if you do fall off the wagon as you're trying this, because just get right back up and shut that demon up. That's what's important, because we all know, a lot of us have experienced this whole thing where we would do something, we would fail at it, or we would make a mistake, and we would talk ourselves into why it doesn't matter anyway, and we should just enjoy ourselves, right? I think everybody's experienced that. So what is really important is that we stop that dialogue. Everybody makes mistakes. We always do. We're going to make mistakes. When we do, shut that inner dialogue up once and for all. That is critical. You can look to these influencers, and there's many more, but I'm going to highlight a few here, who showed me the way and explained a lot to me when I was first starting. And if it wouldn't have been for these people, I probably would not have succeeded. Dr. Sean Baker, who I refer to as the OG carnivore daddy. A lot of people say that he is the patient zero of the carnivore diet. He started a lot of this. Dr. Ken Berry, the designer of the BBB&E diet. Dave Mack, while not a physician, he is officially the best listener in the world. He gives everybody a chance to tell their story on his channel of how they healed themselves through carnivore. So it is definitely worth checking out. Dr. Anthony Chaffee. While he did not coin the phrase, plants are trying to kill you, he's the one who made it famous. And for those of you who want to do more research on the carnivore diet or nutritional science in general, you got to check out my two favorite nerds, Professor Bart Kay and Eddie Goki. They love geeking out on all that stuff. So check them out. The last critical tip I can give you about going carnivore is that this is an experiment of N=1, and it involves you and your diet. You have to know what works for you. That means you have to try different things. And remember, when it comes to being omnivorous as a human, or having the capability to be an omnivore, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should, or doesn't mean it's best. So keep that in mind. And the carnivore diet is a species-appropriate diet for human beings. So if you've tried everything else and you found no hope, try it. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. So tell me, are you going to try the carnivore diet for 2026? If so, are you going to try a lion diet? You going to do the BBB&E or something different? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm always very interested in everything you guys have to say. And if you like this video, if you could hit the like button, I would really appreciate it. And make sure to subscribe and to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos or live streams. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.